Good evening, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another fantastic talking cricket show. We did say we'd do another one if England could win in 4 days, because I'm off to Paris tomorrow. So they kept their side of the bargain. Won 3-0 this morning. First time in Pakistan, a whitewash, which was absolutely fantastic. Anyway, welcome to everyone who's in the chat. Colin, Lee Bayliss, Emerson, anyone who else, get involved. If you want to drop any questions in the chat, please do. We will be doing our series ratings. So if you want to get involved in that, I know Colin's got some stuff wrote down. He'll be getting involved. So if you want to get involved in that, please do. Just a quick couple of things. If you are watching this live, please press the like button. And if you're watching back, please press the like button. Share it with your friends and tell all your friends about Talking Cricket. And if anyone wants to get involved, it would be great. And we also do have a Twitter feed at One Talking Cricket. I think we're over 300 followers now on there, which is all good. Anyway, probably do just over an hour tonight. We've got a little quiz at the end as well. Sort of what's happened during 2022 in the summer. So if you want to get involved in that, but no cheating. No cheating. We don't like cheating here. But tonight I'm joined by Ian, Brandon, and Rob. And hopefully you're all well. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Are we all happy?
Yes.
Yeah, Ian, happy out there?
Yeah, we're cautiously optimistic.
Tell me about them gloves behind you. Do a little plug.
They just happened to be there. I know that a couple of lads are quite interested in them. These are the Bat Whisperer Clipper sort of sausage finger style gloves with Pittard's palm. Feel free to get in touch if anybody needs a pair.
Drop your Twitter feed or your email or anything you want to try to get in contact with you, Ian.
Yeah, at Lofted on Drive.
There you go. Anyone needs some gloves? I think Brandon said you want some. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, so, right. So England 3-0. Did anyone predict 3-0, Rob?
Yeah, me probably.
You probably did, because you did say last time. We will probably, maybe at the end of the show, we'll do, I know it's a fair way off. We may do a little Ashes prediction, sort of 6 months out. So, yeah, it's a hard one to predict at the minute. But so it's England, what? Well, it might be. We'll see. See what you've got to say, Brandon. Then we'll come back to this when the Ashes is over in. I think is it over in July, Ian? This year it finishes early, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's they're still messing around with the schedules, aren't they? But I know it's supposed to be quite late. Yeah.
There's no Test cricket, I think, in August next year.
All June, July.
Yeah.
It is all.
Anyone got any tickets?
Yes.
Anyone shelled out the tickets for Lords?
No. My brother got allocated days 1 and 5 at the Oval, but I won't be able to attend, I'm afraid, because work.
I've got Headingley.
Well, I've got day 1 at Old Trafford, so I might be onto you, Ian, where I might stay maybe the night before, and then I've day 4, I think, at Edgbaston.
Day 4 at Edgbaston.
Will there be many tests, guys? Go to 5 days in the Ashes.
Well, you can never predict the English weather, can you? Yeah.
No.
Without weather, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
Right, let's quickly run through the scores. Pakistan 304 all out. England 354. Pakistan 216. We will come to Rayan Ahmed because I think you did shout him out, didn't you, Rob? We will come to Ben Duckett because I know Ian did give him a shout out a little while back. So we'll come to that. And then England cruised to victory, 170 for 2. And it was all over early this morning. Did anybody get up to watch it? I'm sure Rob did. Brandon?
I was worried that if I was going to get up for 20 minutes, I wouldn't be able to get back to sleep. So I didn't get up.
I was listening to it on TMS.
Yeah, so. I had it on the radio.
I did wake up at about 20 to 6 and I thought, I'll see what's going on. Nothing was going on.
It was all over.
Yeah. I think it's over. It is now.
So, we'll start off, shall we do some series ratings? I know we normally do them a little bit sort of later on in the show, but shall we start off with our series ratings for England. I know there's a couple in there. Obviously, Liam Livingston only played sort of a bit part, so we won't probably include him. But do you want to lead the way in? We'll start with Mr. Zach Crawley at the top of the order. He scored 235 runs, averaging 39.
He did, and I think we saw glimpses, didn't we, of the play that we think that he can be. I've got him as 7.75.
Oh, 7.75. I think Rob's coming back. He said he had to drop out.
Rob so twisted at that.
He was
mark.
offended. He was offended by that rating, I think. Yeah, 7.75.
Yeah, he got 122 and a 50 and a 41. Yeah, but this England side, the bar's been raised, hasn't it? So
I think if you look at, I've got the strike rates here in sort of top six.
I was about to say, it's how he scored his runs, isn't it? Not necessarily the runs he's scored, which has caught the eye.
Crawley was just touched under 92 strike rate. You got Harry Brook 93, Penn Duckett 95, Ollie Pope was 94. They're all in the 90s, apart from Mr. Joe Root was 85. But we will come to Joe Root. So 7.75 for you. What about yourself, Brandon, for Zach Crawley?
I put 6.5. I was impressed. Obviously, he got off to a really good start in the first test with that 100, and then it was sort of a little bit more of the same of what we've been used to. Good looking starts, and it's always, as I sort of touched on there slightly, it's how he scores his runs. I think that we sort of take more notice of, and maybe why Ian might have rated him a bit higher, because the way that he scored the runs he did was attractive. It was good strike rate. He didn't look like he was going to get out until he did, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't like when we've seen him in England when he has 5 chances to get to 18 and then he still manages to nick one. But yeah, he looks good until he doesn't, isn't it? So that's why I'll give him a 6.5. I think he started well, but it's still one of those cases where he's getting a lot of those starts which he isn't pushing through, which we want to see a bit more of, especially when the team's doing so well. Maybe that's why we're not turning around now and saying, are we struggling for runs? It's because we're winning games. We're not turning around and saying, oh, Crawley didn't get many runs again. You know what I mean?
I think he'll always be a bit of a streaky player. I think he'll look good for a few tests and he'll score quite a lot of runs, and then he'll probably have a dry spell. So I've given him a 7. What about yourself, Rob? Are you back with us?
Yes, mate. It might just dip again, but just let me back in if I dip out. All right.
Zach Crawley.
7. I think Brandon covered it pretty well, to be honest. At the end of the day, though, when you open the bat in, you're going to get a good nut now and again, like a Bra, was it third ball? Skidding one on last over the day, late on in the day. You're going to get those as an opener. But, that's the Crawley that's the Crawley they wanted, wasn't it? And they got him. Tees off, runs aggressively, good partner. I just think they bat really well together because one's 6'9" and the other's 4'1", so they just mess with the bowler's lengths really effectively together. So I think they could be together for a period.
So let's come on to Ben Duckett. Obviously, you bigged him up, didn't you, Ian?
Yeah, I did. I did. I didn't have him down as an opener, incidentally, but he's been very positive the way that he's played, and he's got tremendous scores, hardly a failure. I've given him 9.5. I think he's been an absolute breath of fresh air.
I did say last week, Ian, on here, is he a horses for courses, plays better, like low, slow wickets, obviously big sweep shot, plays a lot of sweeps. Now, obviously, Bairstow's going to come back in. He's going to come back in the team, isn't he, Johnny Bairstow? I would have thought. Harry Brook, would you see... Who would you see? I know it's a big call. Who would you see making way, or would they go back to giving Bairstow the gloves?
I wouldn't. It's very difficult because I don't think you can. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to change this side. I know that McCullum did say that he would bring Bairstow back. Who do you bring him back for? It's a massive call. I mean, if you look at if you forget the history for one moment, if you looked at the sides that were playing in these test matches, you'd replace Joe Root. but I know that's not going to happen, and I'm not making that call. But you know, in the cold light of day, looking at it objectively, Root would be the one to go. I don't think you could change. I don't think you could leave Duckett out. He might be horses for courses. I think with this test and what was evident, and the wickets that he played on, is that you could pitch the ball up, you could bowl at the stumps, you could bowl at the pads. It wasn't just short of a length, you know, getting Zach Crawley to try and nick off, that it will be when we play the Aussies, I suspect. So, yeah, it could be horses for courses, but, you know, what can't speak, can't lie. You know, that Duckett's numbers, I mean, he's come in, it's that opening spot that we've talked about so often on these podcasts as being problematic, and he's come in and done a great job. So if Bairstow came back in, it wouldn't be for Duckett, not for me.
Yeah, if you look at his figures, Brandon, 6 innings, 357 runs, averaging 71, 100, 350s, strike rate of nearly 96. You know, it'd be interesting to see how he goes, Brandon, in them 2 tests in New Zealand in the new year, because it'll obviously be a little bit different conditions out there. So that'll be a big test for him, I think, going forward for the summer. I've given him a 9. You know, Duckett, I think he's been outstanding. So what about you, Brandon?
I've given him an 8.5, I think, for the same reasons as what everyone said here. I think he's had a brilliant series, and he's been brilliant to watch. I think that everyone's sort of forgotten the fact that it was a surprise at the start of the series when Alex Lees wasn't even selected in the squad and he wasn't given a contract. So maybe McCallum saw him as maybe something's not there, left a little bit to be desired maybe in terms of how he wanted him to play. But yeah, it's a weird one. I think the only way that they can fit him in the team fairly in terms of what people are doing at the moment would be to give Bairstow the gloves. But I would not be at all opposed to see him opening the baton with whether it be Duckett or Crawley. And then them two can battle it out in New Zealand, see who partners him when he's back. I'd like to see Bairstow open.
Well, we're in a lucky position, guys, because I remember we sat here probably this time last year. We were in Australia. We were getting absolutely slapped. And it's like night and day. Now we've got so many options. We'll come on to Ollie Pope. He obviously struggled in the Ashes, and he's had another good series. Obviously had the gloves, showed that he done a pretty good job, I thought, behind the stumps. Look, he's not Ben Folkes, obviously, but I thought he'd done pretty well. I've given Pope an 8. I know he's got 238. He's averaging just under 48, and I think we spoke about this quite a lot in here in the summer, Ian, about Ollie Pope and the number 3, you know, nailing down the spot, and I think he's grabbed it with both hands, and he's sort of there for as long as he sort of wants to be. I think as long as he stays in form, you know, he might lose a bit of form, but I think he's had a really good series again.
Yeah, I mean, I've given him an 8. I'd agree with that. I mean, he's stuck with him. You know, I did say, you know, in the summer early on that, you know, his days would be numbered if it was me, if he didn't start performing. They've stuck with him. They've shown a lot of loyalty and a lot of belief. Belief seems to have been a word that's been used quite a lot with this new era of positive cricket. And he's shown some good results. You know, he's had a fairly solid series. Yeah.
What about you, Rob? Ollie Pope?
Yeah, really solid. I mean, to get chuck the gloves the day before and take over, he did really well. I think he put down.
Didn't even have his own gear. He had to use Ben Folkes's, didn't he? Didn't even have any wicket keeping gear out there.
A bit clubby, but we like clubby, don't we? Most of the time. No, he did really well. I think it suits him to, you know, he's very sweet, loves to sweep, you know, like most of them do. Good on his feet, nimble. Couple of cracking catches at short leg as well when he took the pads off. That catch for Ahmed was brilliant. Just fearless to go and stand at silly point off Mark Wood, which baffles most people, doesn't it? To stand a metre away from 90 mile an hour extra sets was awesome. Batting wise, he did a great job. He absolutely, you know, he's making that number 3 slot his own. But you have to say, crazily, he's probably one of the ones who's less safe than others. Believe it or not, you know, if he goes 4 innings in New Zealand for spit, then come the summer he could be in trouble. But very impressive.
Brandon?
7.
Bit low.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to it. Right. We'll quickly move on. Joe Root then. Look, when we were on here last year, it was Joe Root carrying the team. Obviously, struggled as captain in, and you look out. We won the series 3-0, and if you look at the figures of obviously himself and Ben Stokes, they haven't really contributed a lot in sort of runs and look, Root's got 5 wickets. He's handy little part-time spinner, but he only scored 125 runs in 5 innings. So I've given him a 6. It shows how strong we are.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure if you've been copying my homework because I've got a 6 as well, for the very reasons. I mean, as you quite rightly say, once upon a time, if Stokes and Root didn't get runs, England were looking at down the barrel. And they haven't really sort of come to the party in that respect, in the respect of numbers. And, look what's around them. So what a tremendous thing that, people are sitting up and, standing up, taking responsibility. And it must take the pressure off both Root and Stokes. Hopefully that'll shine through in New Zealand. But I've given him a 6.
Rob?
He's still our best player, and he will be until he retires, I'd have thought. A couple of, everyone's vulnerable, aren't they? First ball, he got a good seed first ball. A little bit concerned about maybe what he was told as he walked out to bat, but because there was a word, wasn't there, on the boundary. Unfortunately, if he told him to push hard at his first ball so you can carry it to slip, then that wasn't a great bit of advice. He bowled well. He took some important wickets. And like I said, I think last week, you got to really admire the way that he was in charge before, and he's just sort of taken it in his stride. And he doesn't sulk about it. He's really embraced it, and he's almost like a vice. He's one of several sort of vice captains or senior leaders within that team. Just because he's not getting. You know what? I think if England was struggling, all of a sudden you might see Root getting runs. I think he's a little bit like Graham Thorpe in that he gets runs when it really matters, and it will certainly matter in the summer, won't it?
Yeah,
so
definitely. If you're saving them up for the summer, that's fine by me. Brandon, Joe Root?
5.
Yeah.
It would have been a 6, but the lack of respect by the 2 batsmen yesterday, not wearing a helmet when we all know that Joe Root has a bouncer in his locker, it really took a point down for me. That lack of respect, and he still didn't bounce him. You got to do it, Joe.
Right. The main man, Harry Brook. 468 at 93, 3 tons, 150, striking nearly 94 in. It has to be a 10 for me. I don't know about yourself.
Well, I've given him a 9.75 because obviously I need to remind you that he is still from Yorkshire. He was skilled in Cumbria, but there we go. What's tremendous about Harry Brook is he's not just going out there and slogging it. He scored his runs at a really good lick of pace. I get that. But
what's the word you use? What's the word you use on the WhatsApp group? Twatting.
Is it appropriate?
You can use it.
He is not a tea-watter. That's what I think I said. Listen, he scores his runs from a sound technical base.
Yeah.
He plays proper cricket shots. His timing's excellent. He's really good on the eye. And all the wonderful things, particularly Grumpy Neil said, and other Yorkshire fans quite rightly, has come good. And he looks like he's got a really good temperament and fits in well with the group. But 9.75, wrong side of the Pennines.
So while we're on Harry Brook, we're all going to do our moment of the year, if you've all got one, hopefully. And my moment of the year doesn't involve England playing cricket. It was Johnny Bairstow playing golf. A broken leg in sport. I know Brook played the last test of the summer against South Africa, but in sport, it's all about taking your opportunity when it comes along. And he played in the Pakistan PSL, played out there, done really well when we went out there in the 2020s. And he's grabbed the opportunity here, and he is a multi-format player now. He'll probably go to the IPL, I'd have thought. Ian, do you think he'll probably get picked up? I would have thought. I think that's Friday.
Yeah, that's what he's aiming for, yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll probably go out there. And I think that for me, I'm not saying it was the favourite moment. I think that was just a moment in time where he probably wouldn't have been, if Bairstow had been fit, I don't think Brook probably would have started the first test. He could have done. He could have opened. You don't really know, but I think it shows.
He might have been in for Livingston. They might have
possibly
chosen Brook over Livingston.
But that is my moment of the year. Anyway, on to Harry Brook for you, Rob.
Well, like you said, numbers-wise, he's averaging 93, scores at a good lick. Reminiscent of Kevin Peterson, the way he smacks the ball. I said last week, he picks up the length so well. He set anything short, he's just on the back foot and just pummels it away through mid-wicket all the time, often for 6 as well, effortlessly. He's got a really good method. He stands a bit taller for the seamers. Drops his centre of mass a little bit lower for the spinners. Doesn't look like he looks like the only way he's going to get out is himself. He not almost a little bit like KP would almost get plenty and just almost look like he's bored. Brook is just toying with him. So good. Can he rival like Marnus and Steve Smith and these guys with these crazy averages? Can he keep that up high above 60 for as long as possible? But can't wait to see him in New Zealand against that completely different sort of attack. And then can't wait to see him against the Aussies as well. But absolute class, 9.66.
Harry Brook.
10. What did he do wrong other than playing for Yorkshire?
That's an accident of birth, to be fair to him.
There you go. Not his fault. Just brilliant. I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he could be the next best batsman in the world in all formats. He knows what length the bowlers bowl in the over before the guys bowled it. He picks up length so bloody quick, doesn't he? He just makes batting that isn't easy look very easy. I think that's how I'd put it. And I don't really have anything else to say. Normally you say some good stuff and then a couple of bits that have brought his rating down. But if I'm giving him a perfect 10, I'll big him up and then I'll conclude.
Yeah, I think because obviously man of the match, man of the series, I can't give him anything other than a 10, Brandon. Right, we'll do the captain last. So we'll quickly come on to Ben Folkes. He obviously only played one test. Oh, Rob's gone again. One test. Obviously he was ill. Then he didn't get selected. I've given Folkes a 7. I thought he kept wicket well and played a crucial part in the partnership with Brook when we were struggling, weren't we, in 140 odd. They just had the run out and Folkes come in. It's interesting when you go through, obviously, he's only played one innings, but when you go through strike rates, and I think we did touch on this last week, I don't think he's going to be one who's going to smash it from ball one, Ben Folkes. He's a proper batsman. And he gives you that little bit of solidity in sort of batting at number 7. This is what, look, for me, he plays every single test when he's fit. He's the best wicket keeper and he's a very good batsman as well, So I think with
He's a different batsman as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is different. That's what I'm just saying, that he gives you that little bit of solidity. And I think he's going to have to learn to obviously probably bat with a tail a little bit, Ian, because there will be times when it's not all going to go swimmingly. But I think with Ben Folkes, if I was McCullum with his batting, I'd just leave him be and he bats at his own pace, I think, because I think that's his game.
I think that's right. I think we've got to be, as I said, I think I was joking saying I'm cautiously optimistic. I think as long as this sort of style of cricket, I understand that they're quite happy to risk defeat, in order to achieve victory. But I think you're absolutely right with Folkes. I think it's a very important role just sitting in front of the tail. But he bats well, he bats properly for me, and it's a good knock. I've actually given him an 8. I think he was tidy with the gloves.
Me too.
I think he is the best glove man, and it's a really good knock. And these guys are in the team because of the way that they play. I know that they're trying all these different funky shots now and things like that. And for some people that'll work and some it won't. But sometimes it will come off and sometimes it won't. But you do have to play proper cricket, test cricket at times. And I like Folkes. I think he does that.
Yeah, look, he doesn't have to change how he plays for me. I think this is where a little bit when you go back to the summer and when we had Alex Lees playing, guys, he was. We see him in the West Indies, and he didn't really get the ball off the square, but he was never one of them to go out like a ducket. And I think he was they were trying to make him something that he wasn't. You know, I think that's probably a little bit unfair on him, and he's had his chance and gone. But with folks, I just stick him there at 7. You know, you say like he's tidy with the gloves in. You didn't really notice him in this test because he didn't make a mistake, you know, and when he had to catch it and whatever. The run out was the run out of Bubba.
Yeah.
The take was absolutely incredible. You know, it wasn't the greatest throw, was it, when you think about it, Rob? And he's just made it look easy.
That's what he does, isn't it? That's what you pay for. Phenomenal. I just that clip where fair play to the umpire as well, because obviously he took the bail off, didn't he, with his shoulder or something, but they noticed that, and obviously that left one more bail on, and he did enough to, whether or not he realised he'd done that in that split second or not, to make sure he took, you know, the leg stump or whatever. Then for me, I wish he'd stood up to Mark Wood. That would have been it for me, standing up to Mark Wood, which I think he could have done because he's that good. Batting with the toe wise, I thought he batted really well with Robinson and Wood and let them give it a bit of a whack, and he knocked it around and did that. I think, like Brandon said, that's his job. He knows what he's doing. Let him do that. There's an argument that sometimes he might bat higher where the situation might dictate where we need to maybe shut up shop, and he might be a bit of a night watchman for one of bit of old parlance, but he could open the batting if they needed to, or bat anywhere. He's class. He's got a method against pace and spin. I don't know what his average is, his career average, but I reckon it's not far. It'll be over 35, I would have thought, without looking. But class. That's class. I just don't want to not have him in and try and play Duckett or Bairstow or Pope as keeper. You know, folks will win your game in a series, particularly an Ashes series. He may well win you a game with the gloves, with a bit of brilliance. So got to be there. You know, Warner or Smith or Labuschagne nicks one off. You want that held on to, don't you? So he's the man.
Yeah, we've discussed this before in here with Bairstow, Butler, and you know, Pope's got the gloves, and it was only through illness really that he obviously didn't play the first test, folks, because he would have played the whole three matches. But what did you give him, Brandon, Ben, folks?
8. I agree with everything Ian said, and Rob. I think he didn't do anything wrong with the gloves. The run out, as you said, is sort of like a highlight where you think. I think it was his other glove, wasn't it? His other glove, because he's leant over and that glove sort of tickled the bail off, if you will, and then he slammed the other one off. So, yeah, he will win you game with the gloves, and I thought he was the perfect sort of batsman to come in when we were 160 behind, with him being the last noticeable geezer who can hold a bat. So, yeah, really good game for him. 1 innings, 50 odds. Take it, wouldn't you?
Right, quickly moving on. We'll do Will Jacks. I've given him a 6. I did say last week, Ian, I think he's probably going to be a white ball specialist. So that's enough for me.
Yeah, 6 from me.
Rob?
Yeah, same. Covered him. You know, he didn't play, did he, last test? We covered him last week. So, yeah, Brandon? Just a white baller.
Ditto.
6. Right. We're going to talk about the young leg spinner who you did champion, Rob.
I did.
You know, you did say bring him in. I think a lot of people probably thought he's just been he's gone along. He's done a Theo Walcott, I think a lot of people, but he's gone along for the ride, you know, a little holiday, bowled a few balls in the nets. But he comes in and obviously 2 in the first innings and then 5 wickets in the second innings. Was it with the 42nd over, Ian? They didn't bring him on till?
Yeah, it was like, you know, it was almost a thanks for coming type scenario. But, you know, good captaincy from Stokes. I'll give him that. He's used his players well. And there's been, I don't know if it's a record of how many field changes he's made throughout the 3 tests as well, showing invention and positivity. But yeah, he came on quite late. But like I say, he wasn't just there to get some experience, be around the lads and carry the drinks like we've seen in previous winters. I know we talked about this time last year, possibly.
Yeah. I'll give him an 8.5 in. I don't know what you give him.
I've given him a 9. I just think it's to come in. It reminds me of sort of back in the day when India used to bring in 17-year-olds and they'd hardly played any first class cricket, and they were good enough whether they were old enough or not, and it just reminds me of that kind of thing. And I think it sort of reiterates this sort of positive attitude that we've got. We're not waiting for somebody to get 60 wickets in a county championship season. What they've obviously seen of him, there's lots of the ECB is a big coaching network, and the counties do a great job as well. By the way, has to be said. I think he's come in and he's been a breath of fresh air. I mean, obviously he can bat a bit as well.
Shot a ball, wasn't it, yesterday?
That was just bizarre, him going in at 3. I'm not too sure if I'm a bit old-fashioned. I'm not too sure if that was the right idea or a bit disrespectful, but it's inventive. And he seems to be up for it. So I've given him a 9 because to come in at that age and get a 5 in a test, it's just amazing. It's a great story.
I don't know if you listen to McCullum's interview, Rob, and he was hoping that he's going to get picked up in the IPL. He said,
"Yes, mate."
He goes and plays as much franchise cricket as he can.
Well, I guess that's a nudge. That's a nudge to the fact that he's not going to go to New Zealand. He's not going to play in New Zealand. He'd only be doing drinks there. You don't want 2 spinners there. So, yeah, just threw him at. I mean, I think he probably would have, without knowing what his base price is. I reckon it's probably quite low.
It's cheap. I think it's 40. Was it? I read somewhere. 40.
Fair enough. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but if his price is lowish, then he's guaranteed a gig, isn't he? In fact, because his price is, if it's low, then he'll probably get bidded up anyway. Bid up, and he'll end up getting quite a wedge anyway. But he's then going to obviously get a gig because there's 4 overseas players and they've probably got 8 to 10 of them. But he'll just be in and around good people. Might be in with another spinner or quality coaches, and just being in that environment will really help him. And obviously, if Baz is advertising him, that probably helps his stock a little bit too. But good move because he's just not going to play in New Zealand. And then come back mid-April or whatever. Because I don't know how much. I mean, Leicester are going to feel duty bound, aren't they, to have to play him all the time? Leicester won't get away with not playing him anymore because he only played 3 championship games. So he'll have to play for them. I think he's got a deal until 2026 as well with them. So although Nottingham, I'm sure, will come knocking, or one of the big teams. But at the end of the day, if he's playing 3 formats for England, he ain't going to play much for a county anyway, is he? So, yeah, I'm sure he gets snaffled up. Great move. Really good. I think Brooks the same as well. He'll get a gig in the IPL as well. So, whether or not how much he can play.
The confidence. When he led England off yesterday, he's an 18-year-old just tossing the ball up, smiling. His dad was there. It was fantastic, because we all love a bit of mystery, don't we? And obviously, he'd met Shane Warne, I think, last year, hadn't he, Rob? I see a bit of footage of that.
No, it was when he was 13. So he met Shane Warne when he was 13, so 5 years ago. And Shane had said to him, I want to see you playing first-class cricket when you're 15. So he wasn't far off. He was only a couple of years out, wasn't he? So, yeah, shame that Warne wasn't here with us to see that, because he'd have absolutely.
What's he waiting for him, Rob? How many did you give him?
Yeah, 8.5. He, batting wise, I can see him, but he'll bat 6 for England in a couple of years' time. I think when the time's right. All the chat is that he's a better batter than he is bowler.
He said that himself, didn't he? When they asked him.
I'm sure he'll be classed with the bat. It's just that the one thing with being a leg spinner is when are you going to play for us? Like, you're not guaranteed, unless you're Shane Warne, you're not playing half the tests, are you? Especially if we go Australia away or New Zealand, he's not going to play. And if he doesn't play at home because a Leach is, it's tricky. If he can get up to that sort of control levels of like an Anil Kumble or someone like that, where he can be picked as the first spinner, then the world's his oyster. Interestingly, he bowls a lot of googlies and they spin a lot more than the leg spinner. So he's got
that's right.
plenty to work on, Ian. But I'm glad he's our problem and no one else's.
Mm-hmm.
Breath of fresh air.
9.
Yeah, look. Youngest, was he the youngest to take a 5 in Test cricket? He beat, I think, was it Pat Cummins, Ian? Did he take his record?
Pat for England, I think it was Pat Pocock.
Yeah,
it was Cummins, though. I think it was on.
It was Cummins.
They did say they said Test debut, though, didn't they? I don't know whether that was.
Yeah, I think it was on debut.
But I thought it was brilliant, and I'd like to see him play more, maybe even ahead of Leach, just because he's a project. Like, I think we know that what Leach's ceiling is, and I understand that you need an element of control, but you also need to take 20 wickets in a game, and
which we've done.
and he
Which
seems
we've done.
what we have. I just think that he seems like a bit of a golden arm. He looked like he had a bit of a knack of just, even when you're taking some wickets with the long hot rubbish, you know that you got a bit of a golden arm. I'd like to see England playing much more. I wouldn't want to see him be a part-time sort of,
He'll obviously play this time next year because we've got 5 tests in India, so he's nailed on to play that. I'll be really surprised if he played a test match in the summer against Australia. I think, look, we've spoke about Jack Leach. We might as well come to him next because he took 15 wickets. Where am I? Yeah, 15 wickets at 44s. I think I did hear a stat, Ian, that he is the leading wicket taker in Test match cricket this year. Jack Leach.
Is he really? Well, I suppose that's the consistency.
I do. Look, England do obviously play a lot more Test cricket than anyone else.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and I think they play obviously a lot more Tests than they used to way back when as well. And I think that's. That can be a factor with some of these stats. Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he goes about his job. I've actually given him a 7, and he's lucky to get that given the reverse sweep.
You were dropping him, weren't you? You were dropping him from the team after that.
Absolute disgrace. But again, bit old school. I get the Bazball thing, but please, Jack, just, I mean, he did
your limits
twice, but not first ball, son, not in a test match. I think if somebody did that in a club game, I know 1 or 2 lads who, might have them up against the pavilion wall. Yeah, it's, I've given him a 7.
Jack, you seen the video of the lad who goes in to face a hat-trick ball and plays a reverse sweep for 6? Anyone seen that?
No, I've not seen that. No, that's...
No. So there you go. It does come off sometimes.
Oh yeah, it does. I tend to agree with Brandon in that if this lad, let's see how he progresses. Let's see how he goes. But really, do I want to be seeing Jack Leach or Ahmed in the future? I'd rather see the young lad. But yeah,
I don't disagree with you. He's got the right captain and he's got the right coach. Because obviously they're playing on the front foot. They're attack. So we'll just have to wait and see. I've given Leach a 7. I think he's done a tidy job. He's never going to run through a team. He's a steady Eddie. He was good for ball shining, wasn't he, Rob, for his head, obviously.
Absolutely.
But yeah, a steady 7 for me. I don't know about you, Rob.
Yeah.
Jack's thoughts?
Yeah, same. Steady Eddie, as most wickets, most overs, some sort of a holding job. He still wasn't. His economy was. I don't know if you've got it there, Rich, but he did go quite a few, didn't he? At the end of the day, he's our best finger spinner, isn't he? Because
3.76 he went for.
You'd want.
But then if you look at the figures of their spinners, apart from Abrar, they pretty much struggled as well, didn't they?
Yeah, massively. But I just on that, I think whereas Abrar bowled fantastically well for them, and obviously without him, it could. I think we'd have broken every record going. But they struggled a bit with their seam attack massively. I think there was a difference of sort of. I think our seamers took wickets at 25. Yeah. And have you got a stat for me?
I've got our seamers. So Wood, Robinson, and Jimmy Anderson 25 wickets at 20.
Yeah, and
their seamers took 11 wickets between them in the 3 tests. So that's where there was a massive difference, wasn't there? They obviously missed Shiner Freedy, didn't they? Because obviously he was out injured.
Harris Rouse pulled up in the first game, didn't he?
What's the young lad who was playing?
Naseem Shah.
Yeah, his shoulder. So they were a little bit hampered. But I still think, guys, some of their selections, Pakistan, I just scratch my head and think, Abrar, where was he? Where did he suddenly appear from? They must have known about him. And then suddenly he's parachuted in the second test. But look, we're not here to talk about Pakistan. What about you, Brandon, for Jack Leach?
I've given him a 6. I just think, going back to your point, I think the main reason I would perhaps let Leach give way to Ahmed is, if you're looking at economy rate, right? I'd rather Ahmed go to closer to 5 than 4 and take wickets, rather than Leach bowl and go for 3 or whatever and over and not be as much of a threat as Ahmed. But you're also looking at the economy maybe of in the summer in England, where the seamers are going to get more joy. Jimmy Anderson goes for nothing economy wise. Ollie Robinson goes for nothing. So you have the control in your seam attack that maybe some other teams don't, that you can throw Ahmed the ball and say, just bowl wicket taking balls, float it up there. If they have a go at you, brilliant. And that's how Stokes sort of managed Leach when Leach was in a real hole, really, wasn't he, with his confidence. That's exactly what Stokes done with Leach. He said, I'm not going to put the fielder back, invite him forward, invite him at you. That's what he done against New Zealand, and that's what he can do with Ahmed. I just think that you've got to, as I said, you've got to look at the ceilings of the two players and realise that Ahmed's is so significantly higher than Leach's. Leach, as I said, Leach has done his job. He's done his job in this series that he was asked to do. He's done his job in all the series that he's played this calendar year. I just think you have to give way to the hot hand and what could be a much hotter hand in the future. So Leach is 6 and a backup going forward for me.
Yeah, that's fair point. Right, we'll do Jimmy Robinson and Mark Wood all together. So I've given them all 9s. I think they played. Look, Jimmy didn't play this last test. I think it was really sensible. Obviously 2-0 up in the series. I think Ben did say he wouldn't forgive himself, Ian, if he got an injury. So it was really sensible resting him there. He can go away, put his feet up for Christmas. And I think we've got the first test we've got 2 in New Zealand. The first test is a day-nighter at Mount Maunganui. So I think Jimmy will be rubbing his hands together there to get the pink ball. But look, they've been outstanding. You know, Jimmy, Ollie Robinson, who I did, binned him off a little bit sort of during the Ashes with his fitness. He's come back. He's obviously got fit. And then Mark Wood, who's just a wholehearted cricketer, and he just charges in ball after ball. He just throws himself off his feet. And look, 9s for all of them. They were absolutely outstanding. And I know Harry Brook was obviously outstanding and we got a lot of runs, but I think them 3 played a massive, massive part in us winning these 3 test matches. Not so much the last one, but the first 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's. I think there's a stat that it's the first test match that we've won without Broad and Anderson since Tony Blair was Prime Minister. Not too sure how accurate that is, but
2007.
It's a good stat nonetheless. I think you're right. I think we've got to be very careful with our fast bowlers, as we know. Robinson has come back sort of as he's fighting weight. We know that Anderson we need to tread carefully, and Wood, of course, has had his issues with injury. So, you know, we do need to use, I think, a squad, and maybe we'll have Broad in the summer, and you know, there'll be other bowlers as well.
Go to New Zealand for you, Ian?
He might want to, because he chose, didn't he, not to. I don't think he was keen to be abroad. Did his wife have a child, something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting, because he moaned like hell about not being picked for the Windies, and then when it comes around to what about Pakistan? Oh no, you know, I'm not going to bother. But anyway, we're part of that because we didn't need him. I think you're absolutely right. There's a big difference, like you say. I think, like you say, Pakistan got 11 wickets at 65, their seamers, and that was the big difference. Very, very similar numbers with the spinners, in actual fact.
Yeah,
I've given Wood and Robinson an 8 and a 8.5 for Anderson. And I think, going back to Brandon's point about Ahmed and maybe not going at 3s or 3.5, he can go at sort of 4s and 5s. Because of the scoring rate that we are batting at, we can afford our bowlers to go for a few more per over. And we can take those risks, and we can set funkier fields, and we can attack more. So I think that's the way that basically the England team are revolutionising Test cricket. So I think we can be a little bit more, positive in that, and not quite near reach. But I think the bowling unit have done a tremendous job on wickets that more suited them to perhaps they'd get in Australia. As I say, they bowled straighter, fuller at the stumps and at the pads, and it suited our type of bowling. But they've done a tremendous job.
We got a question here in the chat from Colin. Do we think that Anderson is as good as Glenn McGrath? I'll let you answer that, Rob.
Without numbers in front of me, I'd say longevity. He's played for longer. He's played more games, taken more wickets, had more of an influence on his team. I think McGrath was the opening bowler in the best probably Test team there's ever been, who had some pretty good mates to back him up. Anderson's for years. I know he's had Broad with him for years, but Anderson sort of carried that attack for 15 years, almost 10, 12, 15 years. And he's kept getting better and better. So just numbers-wise, more wickets, probably at a slightly higher average, but more wickets over more games with more influence. But not a bad question, Colin. Jesus.
Right. Jimmy Anderson, right. He's like a fine wine. So Matt Phillips said, I've got to give a shout out, right? I don't know if we can all see this. If you're listening on the audio, this is Sir Ian Botham's wines. I got sent these today. So I'd like to say thanks to Matt. And if you're looking for some good wines, guys, Ian Botham's wines. Have you had them, Ian?
Yes, yeah, I have tried one or two. Yeah, Angela drinks most of the wine in our house, so I have to be quick. But that's she has to put up with me and the boy. So no, they're all right. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Good stuff.
Other wines are available.
Other wines are available. Quick ratings for Wood, Jimmy, and Robinson for both you two down the bottom, and then we're going to do Ben Stokes, and then we're going to crack on with a quiz. Everybody get ready in the chat.
Oh, crikey.
Nines for
Rob.
everyone.
Yeah, no, agreed. I like nines across the board for slightly different reasons. They all offered control. Wood, I just love just tearing in, just causing havoc. Anderson seems to go for less and less and less each game. He'll have a game where he'll bowl like 20 overs for less than 10 soon. I think that's around the corner. Robinson is growing into his shoes quite beautifully for the impending retirement in 7 years' time. And also Robinson and Wood got some handy runs between them as well, which was nice. So happy days.
Can't wait to see Jofra Archer. Imagine Jofra Archer back in this. My God. And Broad. Oh, disgusting.
Matt Potts.
Chris Wokes. Wow.
Don't spoil it. You were doing ever so well there. Please don't spoil it. Your rating, Brandon, for them three.
Oh, I did say all nines before Rob.
Spoke.
It's all right, Skip.
So we've done them. Right, we'll quickly come to the captain, who I said last week. If you look at Ben Stokes' figures, not great. 173 runs, 34. He only actually got one wicket in the series. It was a big one. He got Babar out, didn't he? Obviously, in the second innings in Rawalpindi. But his influence on the team, for me, I've given him a 9. You know, his influence, his captaincy, everything he sort of touches, Ian, it sort of turns to gold. Like you were saying, he's literally field changes all the time. Like yesterday, not bowling Ahmed till the 42nd over, and then he comes on, and then he takes a fifer. 9 wins out of 10. You know, what are you giving Ben Stokes?
Well, I think we've been looking at each other's numbers here, because I've given Stokes a 9, and I think you're absolutely right. I think he's nailed on to be BBC Sports Personality of the Year, I would think.
Again.
What he's actually done is he's shown that the sort of maverick, sort of genius all-round player. He's a very astute captain, and he's been successful as a captain, which others that went before him perhaps weren't. Botham, Flintoff, KP, you know, that kind of thing. Still don't think he's as good a bowler as Ian Botham was, and he never will be. But he's been absolutely fabulous. He leads from the front, and I think what's magical about him is that the players obviously react well to him and work well with him, but he's a fan's favourite as well. So everybody wants him to do well. And he's such a a good leader in that respect. When he gave the young lad the trophy, for example, when there was a run out, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about it." If that was Nasser, his bat would have been going, and there'd have been gloves all over the place. So he's just freed everybody up, and I know it's part of this new management team that we've got. So I think it's absolutely tremendous. But a nine for me. It's not personally done, pulled up any trees with the numbers, but you get that in cricket, don't you? But he's done fantastically well.
Yeah, I think him and McCullum bounce off each other, Rob. I think they're ideal. It's the ideal partnership. I think we're lucky to have Brendan McCullum. When he was muted as Red Bull coach, I think a lot of people probably raised their eyebrows, thinking he'd probably the white ball job was up for grabs, but he's just so chilled. Ben Stokes, for you, how many are you giving him? Are you giving him a 9?
Well, last week, mate, I give him 11, and I'll stick with it.
Good enough for me. Good enough for me.
I'm superlatives.
I agree. I think his rating is above the structure that has been given to give the rating. So I will not bring him down to giving him a rating because he's more than that.
Nice.
I don't think there's much more we can really say about Ben Stokes. Right, quickly moving on to your moment of the year. Ian.
It's a good question, actually, when you posed this earlier. I must admit, I was quite, I quite enjoyed young Ahmed getting his cap off Nasser, and his old man was there, and this, that, and the other. I think, but the moment of the year, and I think if we're scoring anybody as well, I think we should probably give some points to Rob Key. I think my moment of the year is a more sort of broader. It's not one incident. I think we're ODI world champions. England are ODI world champions, T20 world champions, and they're revolutionising Test cricket. And they are doing that without a root and branch transformation of the county championship. These guys have been produced by the counties. I know how hard Lancashire are working with their academy. Spent 2 hours on an interleague meeting last night and looking at the changes that Lancashire are making to their player pathway. It's the counties that are producing these players. And I'm wondering if Strauss's plans are going to be ripped up because, we're now potentially the best. I know we've got to play the Australians, potentially the best test side in the world, playing wonderful, positive cricket, white balls tied up, all these people that were moaning and groaning about, England aren't very good because Gloucestershire have played 2 more games than they should have in the county championship. Absolute rubbish. I think it's tremendous what's happening. So it's the Rob Key, I think, deserves absolute credit for the appointments that he's made, because I think we're a little bit sceptical about his appointment, if I remember that rightly. So credit to Rob Key, but I think it's a general point about how England have just from 12 months ago, and then we were talking in March, about the West Indies, and it was all doom and gloom, and who can we leave out, and who can we bring in, and the county system's not good enough. To where we are now, it's an absolute sea change. So that would be my moment.
But don't you think, Ian, it's always after an Ashes series away, there's always, was it the Lord McLaurin? They had several. They've had several, and you only have to look at teams who go to Australia, not just England. Not many teams win out there. It's a really hard place to go. So I think you're spot on there with the Strauss report, and it will be interesting what goes forward. Have the counties? When's the decision being made on that? Is there any date for that?
There's a lot of counties that have already put it to their members and rejected a lot of it. I believe 2024, because I think what they've got to, whatever's agreed, the teams playing in the 2023 season need to know what they're playing for 2024 or possibly 2025. So be interested to see what happens. I think there's a lot of issues with the schedule, and where we play the 50 over game, and what we do with the 100, and all of these kind of things that we've spoken about before. However, it seems to be working.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't change it.
Rob, moment of the year for you.
Can I have two?
Yeah, you can have as many as you want.
Well, I'll have two. And one is a nod to Colin in the chat. But when we just battered India all over the place in the semi-final of the World T20, that was pretty mega. So thanks for that one, Colin. But I have to say, one ball, one moment for me has to be Joe Root reverse ramping Neil. What's his name?
Wagner.
Neil Wagner. When he just reverse scooped him over the slips before, that was just the best thing I've ever seen.
Brandon.
I was going to give a nod to the semi-final against India as sort of my white ball moment of the year, if you will. Mine is the innings, which was the birth of Bazball, and that's Johnny Bairstow at Trent Bridge. In that chase, I think the hour or so after, was it after lunch, where Johnny came out and just won us the game. It
was tea, wasn't it? It was after tea when I think Matt Henry bowled a short ball when he was batting with Stokes, and he ducked it. And Stokes said to him, "What are you doing? Hit it in the stand."
Man. Yes.
He started smashing everything.
So Johnny Bairstow's birth of Bazball is my moment of the year, and it was followed up by many innings which was similar to that one from him, and now we're seeing it from everyone. We're seeing it from everyone. So it's just been a breath of fresh air.
Right. Have we all got our quiz hats on?
Yes.
No.
Are we ready? So this is going to be questions. What's happened in 2022? So we can go around the room, or we can do first hand up, answers the question. What do you want to do?
Is there going to be a rule, though, if someone puts their hands up and there's any pause before they give their answer?
Well, if
they can't answer.
If they pause, I'll give them a 2 second leeway. Otherwise, you're out. So, right, first question. Have you finished your drink? First question. Who took England's first Test wicket of the summer? And I've got three for you. Jack Leach, Matthew Potts, James Anderson. Brandon.
James Anderson
is the correct answer.
Potts got Williamson for his first Test wicket, and he don't open the batting.
Point to Brandon.
Oh, to have
you got to be quick. You got to be quicker than this, you two. He's quick down there. Joe Root's 115 not out guided England to victory on day 4 of the first Test against New Zealand, becoming just the second England batter to reach 10,000 Test runs. Who was the first?
That was me. Brandon. I'm not having that.
It's Brandon.
It's Alistair Cook.
2 out of 2. Come on, guys. Come on. Right. We've got a bit of women's cricket here. On the 18th of June, England's third highest wicket taker, Catherine Brunt, retired from Test cricket to focus on her white ball game. What year did she make her debut? 2008, 2004, 2010.
I'm feeling 04.
Rob is correct.
No, he didn't put his hand up. He didn't put his hand up.
Definitely.
I've seen put a little finger up at the corner of the screen.
Nah, absolute no.
I'll put it there. It was there, Brandon. See, it's here. Look.
Yeah. I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
He has had technical issues, to be fair.
Yeah, right. Come on in. You can get this one. Who became only the second player to score a century in all 3 formats for England, with 125 in the ODI against the I've not even said the 3, Brandon. You can go.
Brandon's
it's Milan.
Hot.
David Milan.
It is David Milan.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah, come on. Right. England's test with South Africa at Taunton ended in a draw. This is women's cricket after rain frustrated the hosts on the final day. Which 2 players made centuries for Heather Knight's team? Tammy Beaumont and Heather Knight. Nat Siver and Heather Knight. Alice Davison-Richards and Nat Siver.
Robert. C.
C is the correct answer.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. This is Owen Morgan. Quit as England limited overs skipper this summer. How many one-day internationals did he play? 200, 225, 235.
Go on in.
Don't know. 235. Don't know.
225.
Guess. Absolute guess.
It is 225. Rob 3, Brandon 3, Ian 0. But we're only on question 7. Still time to. Right. Pace bowler Izzy Wong had a summer to remember, making her England debut.
Yes, he did.
Which footballer did she compare herself after taking her first Test wicket? Harry Kane, Divock Origi, Leah Williamson.
Don't know this.
You can have a guess.
Kane.
Divock Origi is so outside the box. I sort of want to say Divock Origi. Can I say Divock Origi? Corner taken quickly. Origi.
Is that your final answer?
Sure. Why
Is
not?
that your final answer?
Yes.
It's correct.
Are you asking me?
Get in, Divock. Good old Divock.
Right. Next question. This is if Ian doesn't get this question correct, we're gonna have
We'll
to
leave
drop
him to it.
Leave him to it.
No, we're getting patronising now here, lads.
Who became
W.G. Grace,
concussion substitute in a Test match when he replaced Jack Leach in the first Test at Lords?
It wasn't Phil
Was
Salt.
it? Wait. Was it Ollie Robinson? Was it Matthew Potts? Or was it Matt Parkinson?
Is this the Matt Parkinson question? It was Matt Parkinson.
Yes, correct. On we go. Come on, you can come back here. You're only 2 behind Rob now in second.
Yeah.
That match was Parkinson's Test debut. Which other 3 England players would make their first Test appearance for the Test side this summer? Matthew Potts, Jamie Overton, Ollie Robinson. Matthew Potts, Jamie Overton, Harry Brook. Sam Curran, Jamie Overton, Craig Overton.
B.
Yeah, I think is it the middle one?
It is B.
Yes, Ian.
Correct. Right. Women's cricket. England dominated their multi-format series with South Africa, but what was the final score after 7 matches? You should know this, Rob, because you went to some games.
I did.
Was it 14-2, 12-4, or 16-0?
Yeah, me.
He's got his hand up there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ian. A.
It is correct.
That's
Because
a great goal.
Because the test was rained off, wasn't it?
Right, next question.
That was mentioned earlier.
Johnny Bairstow hit the second fastest Test century by an England batter against New Zealand.
Gilbert Jessup.
Yes. But off how many balls? 77. 77. 78 is not on there. 77, 70, or 84?
77.
That's 77, yeah.
Correct. Brandon's got his hand up and he's got the correct answer.
Shambles.
Oh, right. England. This is question number 12. Just about halfway. England's win over South Africa at the Oval was the shortest in terms of overs bowled since 1912. How many were sent down? 131.1, 175.2, or 151.3?
Is it the
151.3.
I think you've been cheating because you know all these
I haven't.
answers.
What do you mean? How can I cheat? I'm answering straight away, man.
Don't be so defensive. Don't be so defensive.
I am offended.
Right. Women's cricket made its Commonwealth Games debut, but who took a wicket with England's first ball of the games against Sri Lanka? Sophie Eccleston, Izzy Wong, Catherine Brunt.
I'd go C.
Wrong.
Brunt.
B.
Oh, who did you say? Did you say Brunt?
He said
I
C.
did.
Oh, yeah, it is correct. Sorry.
Ah,
Sorry.
That should be
Sorry,
2 points.
absolute tease.
Sorry. Right. Teenager Alice Capsey, big fan of her, helped England cruise past South Africa in the group stages of the Commonwealth Games. How quickly did she strike her maiden 50? 45, 40, or 37 balls?
37.
One of the other answers.
the other one that Rob doesn't have?
37 is the correct answer. England's hopes of winning the T20 Commonwealth Games gold were over after the home side fell to a narrow defeat by India in the semi-finals. But how many runs did India beat England by? Go on then.
This is phenomenal.
It was because she needed a 4 on the last ball, I believe, and she didn't get it. So did they win by 2?
3.
I don't know what they ran.
You're both out. You're both out. So I'm giving the point to Ian. It's 4.
4, yeah. I was going to say.
Oh, was it a dot ball? Was it a dot ball last ball?
There you go. You should have waited until I read the 3 answers out. You're jumping the gun here. You're getting a little bit carried away.
His run rate is very high for this quiz.
Which left arm seamer took the best figures for England? Men's one-day international, 6 for 46 against India at Lords.
Reece Topley.
Yeah, just let me read the questions out.
I don't think I need the answers, Rich.
Game's a game.
He's obviously he's on the BBC Sport website. He's gone through these before.
I haven't.
We know.
I would have got the rest of them.
England raced to an emphatic 9-wicket victory in their first T20 international against India in September. Sarah Glenn starred with career best figures. What were they? Go on, Brandon. Come on.
Oh, I don't know. Give me the
4
options.
for 23, 5 for 23, 6 for 23.
I think got to be a 4 for Rich.
Correct. Correct.
Not getting 6 for in that.
Oh, we've had 17 questions. Brandon has got 9. Robert's got 6, and Ian's got 2.
Excellent. And I think 1 was gifted. So, yeah, thank you.
Oh. England beat India 2-1 in their September T20 series, but lost the following ODI matchup. When was the last time India beat England in a series on English soil? 2003, 1999, 1997.
I'll go C.
I'll go 99. Why not?
Brandon is correct.
The year of my birth. Up the boy.
There you go. Who finished as England's top Test wicket taker this summer? James Anderson, Stuart Broad, Ollie Robinson.
James Anderson.
Wrong.
I'll take the right answer. The Broad.
Yeah, correct.
He put it on his Instagram as well the other day.
Right, we've got 25. We've got 6 questions left, and my missus is bringing. She's on the way home with the shopping, so we're on the quick fire questions. England had an impressive summer with 11 victories across 16 matches. How many of those wins have come under standing captain Amy Jones? 5, 3, or 2?
5.
Right.
God knows. 2.
No. Ian's correct. 2. You 2 are out. So
by the process of elimination,
Surrey sealed their first county championship title since 2018 with a victory over Yorkshire. But how many have they won now outright in their history? 10, 15, or 20?
B, 15.
Wrong.
20.
Correct.
Wow, that's a stat, isn't it? Wow.
So you're two behind. Yes. 4 questions left, Rob, and you are 2 behind Brandon. Right. Who was the top run scorer in the women's competition of the 100? Nat Siver, Simari Mandana, or Laura Woodvart?
B.
I'm going to have to go A.
How did you know that? I mean, this is
a guess. It was a guess. You struggled to pronounce the name. I don't know what's going on. I just shouted
Hampshire Hawks. 3 left. Hampshire Hawks won the T20 Blast with a remarkable 1-run victory over Lancashire Lightning.
Thanks for that.
Sorry, Ian.
Thank you.
Sorry. And saw their initial celebrations cut short because of a no ball. Who was bowling that dramatic?
Ellis.
No, Ian had his hand up.
Was it Rick Gleeson?
No.
No. Sorry, I'm going on about 2020. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm on about
Rob, you're correct.
I'm on about yeah. Sorry, I'm on about the previous game.
Right, 2 questions to go. 2 questions to go. Lancashire were also on the wrong end, sorry about this, of another thrilling final against Kent in the One-Day Cup. Kent's first List A trophy since when? 98, 88, 78.
88.
98.
Wrong. Ian is correct.
Well, the other one. Yeah.
78.
Yeah, it was 78. And the last question. Northern Diamonds beat Southern Vipers to win the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy for the first time. But which Diamonds batter finished as the
Winfield Hill.
competition-
That's a top shout.
That's correct.
She
That
did
is
have
correct.
a fantastic tournament.
So, final scores. Ian, 4 points.
Well, it's too modern.
Second place, Rob with 10 points. The winner and the gold medalist, Brandon. So there you go. And thanks for everyone for taking part in the chat. Anyway, that is about it. I just want to say thanks for you guys for getting involved throughout the year. Obviously, Neil's not here tonight. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. Have a great time and onward and upward for the cricket in 2023. And thanks for everyone in the chat and good night.